much louder than you, Miss Cindy. For those of you who do not have a seat, we do have some seats up here in the VIP. So if you'd like to, don't all rush. No rushing. Carefully, come and sit down and have seats up here. I think we have practically everybody from VIP here. Okay? If somebody needs a...
Here we go. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, who is going to be your president? One last sneaker. When you wake up on November 4th, who is going to be your president for the next 4 years? Who is it? All right.
Commentator, political activist. We're ready to get room and to see people not wearing masks, not socially distancing. People have been telling me I am so crazy to be running around. Obviously, I'm 7 months pregnant right now. And from the very beginning, I was just not afraid of COVID-19. You're not going to tell me to be afraid of a virus. I'm afraid of socialism, not COVID-19. One of those things has killed 100 million people in the last 100 years, and it's not COVID-19. It's socialism. And I knew kind of right when this started happening, I was probably the first person. You guys follow me on Twitter. I'm always in trouble. If you're not following me, you're missing out. But I think I was the first person. There was this period of time when they first announced the pandemic where people left and right were terrified. I mean, people that I follow, that I look up to in the conservative movement were like, you know, we should lock down for a little bit just to be sure. And I instantly said, no, I'm not going to be locking myself down. I'm not going to stop traveling. During that time, I got on a plane probably 20 times. I had a Blexit event down in Florida. I spoke 3 times, twice in California, actually. I went to England, I went to Croatia, and my thinking was pretty simple. It wasn't like I was trying to be risky or not to obey all of these rules. It's just that you cannot abandon concepts of freedom when you're scared. That is exactly when governments grow the most power, is when they can figure out what it is you're afraid of. And suddenly they had realized they had found something that both the left and the right were afraid of, a pandemic. And I had conservatives telling me we should all be doing the responsible thing and do our part. And I don't disagree with people that wanted to stay home. I don't disagree with people that want to wear a mask everywhere they go. I don't disagree with people that want to put masks on their children. What I disagree with is the government mandating that, right? Really interesting thing, which was just how perfect COVID-19 aligned with everything the left's been working on for the last 3 years, right? We went from impeachment to, oh my God, we've been trying to, A, kill Trump's economy. Guess what? Sorry, we literally have to lock down and kill Trump's economy. It's for your safety, right? We went from really understanding that they're running a senile candidate at the moment on the left. Every time this candidate opened his mouth, he still thinks he's running for Senate. Still. And America was seeing that, and then suddenly, I'm so sorry, we have to actually hide our candidate in a basement for safety, right? We went from the left pushing, trying to attack religious institutions, and all of a sudden, the churches had to be locked down. We went from the left trying to stop the power and the energy behind Trump rallies, right? People were getting out, getting the truth out in front, and suddenly, for your safety, there could be no more rallies. We went from the left probably seeing and observing that Americans are waking up. You could just see that in these images of these aerial shots of Trump rallies, and they instantly wanted to shut all of that down in a second. And I just said to myself, and now I literally tweeted, you can go back and look in February, I said, this is all going to be about mail-in ballots in November. Because the best way to cheat is you gotta make sure you do it while everybody's looking right at you, right? And this is sort of the brilliance of the left. Everything they do right in front of you. And as soon as all the talking heads, the Facebook and the Twitter started saying, we need to prepare for the fact that we're not gonna find out election results on November 3rd. I mean, when ever in the history of this country have we not found out on November 3rd? I mean, I guess you could say 2016 because Hillary was too embarrassed to come out and concede. But we knew that she had lost on election night, right? And so all of these things have been happening, and I really want to talk to you guys about fear, right? Because at the core of all of this is fear, and it is such an incredibly powerful emotion, an emotion that can manipulate you against your own best interests. We saw on the conservative side, fear is an emotion that can manipulate you against everything you've been fighting and believing for. And suddenly you go, yes, the government should be doing this, we need more of this because I'm scared. And fear is the tool that the left has used to gain so much power in this country. So much power. It starts with race, the topic of race, obviously. Everything that I do, I'm getting out in front and trying to get Black Americans to realize that we've all been manipulated as minority Americans, Hispanic Americans, to be fearful of something that's not really there, right? Of course, we're not ridiculous. We all know, of course, there are some racists left in America. We can find black people that hate white people that hate black people. There are all sorts of pockets of this all across the world because you can never get rid of that, right? Because human beings are human beings. It would be ridiculous to think that you're going to vote somebody in and you're going to eradicate hate. That's never going to go away. But the idea that this country is systemically racist, why? Why is the left kind of pushing that notion to make people believe that? Because they understand what better way to tether minorities and Black Americans to their party than to use fear, the fear of racism. The same can be said for women. We saw this in 2016. We were like, the whole thing was in 2020, it's you ain't black if you don't vote for Joe Biden. In 2016, you ain't woman if you didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, right? That was the big thing. And what did we start seeing just at the right time? They have an amazing record, the left, with just perfectly timed things like this pandemic. In 2016, we saw the beginnings of all of these sexual assault allegations that were suddenly women were being victimized by men. It was just so perfect. You know, the Me Too movement, Trump, 33,000 sexual allegations from 40 years ago. That whole fresh trend began. And what was at the core of that? Trying to make women fearful, right? You need to vote for this because if this man gets into office, that's going to be it for women, right? This is what the left does. They're so brilliant at it, and their timing always seems to be so perfect. And so what I've done is I said, okay, we have to, as American society, get over the hump of fear, right? We have to be able to say, why? Why are they trying to make me fearful of this? Why are they using these words? Bigotry, racism, sexism, every ism that the left uses. You have to ask yourself why. And the answer is very, very simple. It's because what the left wants is power. They are power hungry. And through all of these different movements, some of them that maybe don't make sense, you go, why are they attacking things that were never problematic in the past, right? Like restroom signs, right? I didn't really think we had an issue in this country when I'd see men bathroom and women bathroom. I never went, oh my God, what is this horrible thing going on in America? We need to change this, this is bad. But suddenly, it's bad, right? They're like, no, we gotta change this. And now you can actually go to places and there's so many words in the bathroom doors. Anybody can go here, we don't mind, we're not bigots here. Any person can use this restroom. And I'm always thinking, you could just write bathroom and it would have the same effect, right? But they're about, the left loves the virtue signal, right? They want you to know that they're changing all of these things and they're gonna make these things better when in fact, they're making it worse. And a lot of this stuff is funny. People say, how do you get along and do all of this and keep such an upbeat attitude? Well, I genuinely find the left to be ridiculous and hilarious. So you have to have a sense of humor about some of the stuff they're doing. I mean, I know some of you guys, a lot of you guys follow me on Twitter, and I was just getting my nails done a couple of days ago, and I looked up on the TV and there was a news special about a new feminist hotel in Washington, D.C., and they had just erected an art piece of Ruth Bader Ginsburg made out of tampons. You can't make this stuff up. The left is now beyond parody. You should have seen people on Twitter fact-checking and going, oh, fact-check true. There is a Ruth Bader Ginsburg tampon display in a feminist hotel because feminists, we need that as when we need to see the tampon displays. People thought I was kidding when the ACLU was pushing for equality because they wanted tampons in male restrooms, because men just need to see that option, right? And they're now fighting to do this. And I think we're getting a little bit ridiculous and a little bit beyond parody, right? But then there's a side of it, though, that's also very serious and very evil. And these are the movements that I have just gone right in and been proud for the left to call me any name. I don't care. They've called me everything. I don't think there's anything left. You know, racist, sexist, my favorite, white supremacist. That's my favorite one. I can get that one. I'm playing a game of Pokemon, gotta catch them all in my head. And I'm like, I am close to winning this thing. Didn't expect that one there. But the one that, you know, I've been just really bold against is this trans movement, because now all of a sudden they're focusing on the kids, right? And this is the stuff, especially here in California, which just seems to be the playground for all of this stuff, right? The playground for all of this stuff. They're already starting to push through policies in school where they are allowed to take your child, elementary school, and call your child by a different gender all day. You could have a little Brianna, and they could go to school and they could say, well, maybe you don't feel like Brianna today, maybe you feel like Brandon. And they are now allowed to call your child by a different gender all day, and they are not required to tell the parents. Not required, because it's now protected under the LGBT bubble. It's like if your child comes to school and tells their guidance counselor that they're gay, they don't have to tell the parents. So they've somehow been able to push this under the radar, under the guise of gay rights and lesbian rights, and they're doing this to children. And of course the goal is simple. They want to undermine parents. They want to undermine authority. Right, so when people say to me, you know, public school, which they fight to protect at every single corner, right? They are against school choice. They want the kids in public school. And when they say, when you actually speak to them and people say, public school is free. Public school is not free. Your kids are paying for it with their mind. This is brainwash, right? They're experimenting on kids, and this is stuff that we've seen all over the world. People understand if you can get the youth and you can seize them, you can have a lot of power in how they shape their future, their lives, their viewpoints. These kids running around like little Marxists, right? They really believe this stuff is true. And I understand this, of course, because I used to be on the left. I used to be a liberal, right? I used to believe, crazy to think, Candace Owens of all people, just 6-7 years ago, I was a liberal, and I believed that Republicans were racist, that conservatives were racist, that Republicans were fighting to send this country backwards, that they all just wanted to round up black people and get back to the time of slavery. I believed this stuff, and I'm a pretty smart girl, but when you give me to the public school system from the time that I am 5 years old to the time that I am 18 years old, I'm not believing this stuff because it's who I am. I am actively being taught this stuff in the school system. They are teaching our children this stuff in the school system. And at least when I was coming up, it was really the focus was the early seeds of this division that we see in race. But it wasn't anti-Americanism. This is new. When I was in school, it wasn't fashionable to hate America or hate America. We were learning to respect America. It was okay to learn the Pledge of Allegiance, to love this country, to respect our veterans and our troops. We would do things like plant a tree, to remember the victims of 9/11. And Now things are rapidly shifting. Now we are seeing kids that believe that anything that has to do with America, anything that has to do with the West is inherently racist and is inherently wrong, right? So when you see the Black Lives Matter movement, right, which in my opinion is the most racist movement that has ever existed in this country. Movement is an organization that is run by extremely wealthy, rich, elitist Democrats that uses the faces of dead Black people to raise billions of dollars that does not get put into Black neighborhoods. Tell me anything that is more racist than that, right? But when you see that, when you see the Black Lives Matter movement, you say, how could this just be so volatile? How can people fall for this, right? Because not every person that believes in the Black Lives Matter movement is an evil, horrible individual, right? Take for example, LeBron James. I don't think LeBron James is a bad person. Right? This is a man that actually, if you look at the way he's lived his life, it's quite honorable. He worked hard to get to where he is. He married his high school sweetheart. He's a very good father. He tried to open a school. I don't think the ideas of what he wants to do with the school will work, but he obviously cares about the Black community and is trying to do the right thing, right? Now, somehow someone like him has fallen for the Black Lives Matter narrative, right? He's doing the kneeling, he's putting on the t-shirt, he's saying these things, and what bothers me about someone like LeBron James is all I am asking him to do is to practice what he preaches and to preach what he practices. LeBron James, you didn't get to where you are in life by being a little Marxist. You didn't get to where you are in life by viewing yourself as a victim. When LeBron James was growing up playing basketball, no one said to him, oh, because you're Black, every time you score a bucket, it's going to be worth 4 instead of 2. He became the best. He worked hard to get to where he is. So my issue with these athletes and these Hollywood elitists is that they are demanding that people and that our youth live their lives in ways that they never lived, right? They are carving out paths that they never took to get to where they are. How difficult is it to ask him to actually preach what he practiced to get to the top? Instead, he's building a $100 million mansion in Bel Air, right? And telling us about inherent systemic racism. And I say, LeBron James, if you are suffering from racism, give me some of that. 10% of that. Threat to Marxism. It's why Karl Marx put down in writing that he was against the family, and it is why Black Lives Matter, which was started by a proud Marxist, has on their website that they are after the destruction of the nuclear family. And the reason for that is simple. Because in order to get to what Marxists want, which is an omnipotent government, an omniscient government, a government that is all-powerful, you have to destroy the family. There can be no family. What better way than to tell kids when they're young, you can pick your gender, and to encourage them to mutilate their bodies, right? Because once your body is mutilated, you're never going to be able to have a family, a nuclear family, a solid family unit, right? Once men start acting like women and you tell them sexuality is food and you can do whatever you want, once women are told you should disrespect your bodies, right? It's powerful for you to take your clothes off. The patriarchy tells you not to. I'm thinking, women, you think guys have a problem when you just get naked on Instagram? No, I mean, like, the patriarchy's winning on that one, right? They're winning, right? But once you say all of this and you brainwash so many people to believe in this, you can just successfully destroy and dismember the family. This is why the left, when you say, well, it's one thing to be pro-choice, they're somewhere else now. They are, really pro-murder when you're saying 9 months, 9 months, and a mother can change her mind. Think about how crazy that is. And you go, why? Why did you guys have to go to this extreme? Well, it's because they are after the destruction of family. Of course they want to see babies murdered. Of course they want women to detach from our maternal instincts that we have from the time we are children and we are taking care of a Barbie doll. Women have maternal instincts, right? And men protecting the comes with the sense that men have, that masculine sense to protect and defend. They are after the destruction of family. And that, when you are trying to understand the crazy game of leftism, you just see that and you go, that is what is at the root of everything that they are doing. And that's what we have to fight against. That is the challenge. And how do we fight against it? By simply telling the truth and telling it courageously and never shutting up about it. That has been the challenge. Candace, you're so brave, you're so brave, you're so brave. And I just want to leave you and tell you that I have the easiest job in the world, and so do you, right? We have to tell the truth. I can't imagine. There were people, there were Americans generations ago that really had to be brave, right? That really had to step to the plate and be brave. You guys know my icon is my grandfather, who grew up during the time of segregation, right? That took real bravery, having to deal with the real Klansmen, not an Antifa soy boy on college campuses. I see these little Antifa thugs. I look at these boys and I'm like, if it comes down to it, I'm gonna win in a fight. Definitely beat you up, right? There's so many feelings, these boys, so many feelings, right? They're encouraged, more feelings, no less of that, right? Because let me tell you something, the state of these boys that I see on college campus, we would have never won a world war. And the left knows that. The left knows that. Bravery is like the Netflix special that I watched during lockdown. My husband and I watched World War II in color. If you haven't seen it, I advise you watch it. There's something about them colorizing the videos from World War II, and it completely, if you can get through that without crying, wow. I mean, because suddenly you realize how young these soldiers were. I mean, this documentary is done so powerfully that I was sitting there crying for the Americans, for the Brits, for the Germans, for the Japanese, because you realize these were kids that were being sent out and they were terrified, all of them, right? Half of them had no idea what they were fighting for. And there's this old vet that comes on, I think he's in his 90s, and he's talking about D-Day. And he starts describing what it was like as they were crossing the English Channel. Apparently it was really choppy that day. They didn't even know if they were going to go out that day because they were waiting on the weather, and they said, let's go. And it was so choppy that all of the boys, just so you know, the average age on D-Day for Americans was 22 years old, right? So you had 18-year-olds, you had 16-year-olds, because boys would lie about their age. Just so they could go out and fight for their country because it was the right thing to do. And he said they were getting sick on the way crossing the English Channel from the motion, and that the majority of them were crying, saying that they wanted their mothers. And they were terrified. And they, just by bad luck of the draw, Americans got Omaha, right? By bad luck of the draw, that was the slaughter fest. Any other one of those beaches and more of our boys would have came home. But that's not what happened that day. Terrible, terrible day for Americans as they were fighting for freedom. And to hear this guy tell the story, and he wells up and he starts crying, and I'm thinking, that's bravery, right? Knowing that you're never going to see your mother again, crying, crossing the English Channel, and still, when that dropped, they ran out into that water. It dropped too early. That's part of the reason so many of them got slaughtered. And accidentally, the door dropped too early on their ships, and they got slaughtered. That is bravery. My grandfather talking about the Ku Klux Klan coming to spray bullets in their home at night. And yet, when he talks about that time, says it with a sense of pride. And he says, you know what would happen? My daddy would grab the shotgun and shoot back at them boys. That is bravery. So when people ask me how I'm able to do this stuff is easy, guys. We've got to stand up to Antifa, right? We got this. I promise you, we've got this, okay? We're a lot stronger than you think. And I just want to encourage you to remember that. Whenever you're saying, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? I don't know if I should wear my Trump hat. I don't want people to think this or that of me. Keep those images in your mind. Remember those boys on D-Day. Remember people like my grandfather. Pull from your ancestry, because you know, every generation that you go back, it took a little more. It took a little more to get by in this country, and yet they did it, right? This is easy work. So I will leave you with telling you all that I wake up every single day and I'm encouraged. I wake up every single day and I am optimistic. I think that what we see right now, when you think the country can't get any crazier, my husband always says the left, what we're seeing, it's the last squeals of a dying animal, right? Laugh at the moments, be together, don't wear your mask, see your family members if you need to. God bless this wonderful country. We're going to fight to protect it. I'll see you on November 3rd. Thanks.